Hello, welcome back. Today we want to talk about report types, specifically custom report types. In a previous video, we had discussed wanting to create a report that spans multiple objects, more than two, and standard Salesforce reporting primarily only looks at two objects, say tasks and events being one object, and it then pulls in contact information because there's a lookup relationship there, or say accounts and contacts. So what we want to try to do is create a custom report type that will allow you to look at something a little more robust. A common use case we get is, hey, I'd like to look at lead information and see what was then converted into an opportunity, and then also see what activities have been logged against those leads and opportunities. That way, you can kind of see what's happening in your pipeline, start to finish. What has been converted? Where did it come from? Where is it now? And how close to close are we? So what we'll talk about is creating a custom report type. And as an admin, this might be considered a little more of a advanced function. Um, if you're new to Salesforce or if you're a new admin, this is definitely something you're going to want to get familiar with. In reports, Salesforce offers a lot of standard out-of-the-box reports. It does a pretty good job for the majority of the stuff that you're looking for. But for something a little more flexible, a little more robust, especially if you're going to grow into a much larger org, custom report types is something you're going to want to be familiar with. So from anywhere in the screen, you're going to go into settings. To access custom report types, you're going to go into setup. And in the quick find box on the left, you're going to search for report types. You can just search report. And then under here, you see report types. Now what I have here is just a developer org for the purpose of this demo. So the amount of data is limited, but what you'll be able to see is how you would create a custom report type. And what you're looking at here is the Salesforce page that teaches you about custom report types. Don't be intimidated by it. This is absolutely something that you can go in, play with. You can create a draft of it. You can create your own custom report type and publish it, and then not let anyone know that it's even out there. So chances of there being any real risk with creating a custom report type and making it available, there's very minimal risk in doing anything with report types. So do not be afraid to go in, play around, especially if you're doing it in a developer org, where you could then push it up to a different org, like a production org, to make it more widely available. So let's get into report types. Okay, so from here, click New Custom Report Type, and this is just a standard page. So what are we going to look at? What are we going to look at? So our use case that we're trying to solve for is to look at lead information with opportunities and tasks. So this is finding the right order of objects and which objects are available. This is the most important part of this process, and sometimes it's just trial and error unless you know your org schema and the architecture of your org so well that you can just pick and choose the objects off the top of your head. So the question that we're trying to answer is, are we looking for contacts with opportunities? With partners, you would select contacts as the primary object. What we're looking for is to say, let's see opportunity information that also has leads that were converted from leads, and also task information. So let's start with, and we'll just play around with this together. Let's start with tasks and see what we come up with. I'm going to guess it's probably pretty minimal. Now, in an effort to just show how maybe confusing this could be, you'll notice that tasks is not an object because tasks itself is not the actual object, but activities is. So we're going to look at the activities object. We're going to give this report type a label, which is the name that people see. So let's call this, we're just going to call this draft for now. Draft activities with leads and opportunities. Then here we're just going to put draft in the description. All right, and then we're going to store this, and for now we'll just put it under other reports. And then we're going to call it in development. So it's only in development, and if it's in development, it's only available and visible to admins and anybody that they've given access to. So let's click next. So now you'll see we're looking at the activities object, and what it's looking for, what Salesforce is looking for, is the ability to find another relationship that activities has and reach down to that or reach over to that. So right now you can see that the selected object has nothing else related to it. Contacts are related to it through a lookup relationship, but it's not directly attached to anything. So activities isn't going to work for us as the primary object, so we're going to go back to previous, and we're going to go back to this primary object, and we're going to scroll down to leads and see what we can glean from this. Now, this looks a little bit different. Leads is the primary object, and here we can click to relate it to another object. We'll talk about this A to B relationship and how this Venn diagram will change depending on what we select. But first, let's go down here and look at what we can actually relate this to. So we can say, show me leads. Show me leads with activities. That could be good. And then here are some other options. A lot of this stuff that you're going to see will probably not make a lot of sense. You also probably will not use a lot of it. Campaign history could be helpful in the future, especially if you're doing campaigns. But I would say for this one, leads and activities could be a good start. So what does this mean? And we're gonna look at one other thing here in a moment. What does this mean, leads and activities A to B? Each lead record must have at least a or one activity record for it to show up in the report. So this would be considered leads with activities, with being the key word there, because it is saying you have to have a lead for it to show up in the report. It has to be a lead that has an activity tied to it. If you want this report to show you all leads, regardless of whether or not it has an activity, but also include the ones that do have activities, then you need to choose the second option, which is lead records may or may not have related activity records. So this would be all-encompassing as far as leads go, and bring in activity data. So it would reach from the leads object to the activities object, but it would make sure that it brings in all leads. This is effectively a filter up front, but the second radio button will give you access to all of the data that you can then pare down with filters in the report directly. So before we go on and move to this, what I'd like to do is go back and just take a look at opportunities first and see what we can grab. So let's go back to previous. A lot of this again is just trial and error. So we chose opportunities as our primary object, and we're going to look at what we have available here. So Here we have partners, competitors, product information, order information, activity information. So you can look at opportunities and activities. What I would be interested in doing here at this point is creating this report type that looks at lead information with activities, and then seeing of the leads that we have, show me the converted lead information, and knowing the leads that are converted, would we be able to see opportunity detail from those? So that's the route that I'm going to take with this one. So I'm going to go back to previous. We're going to go to leads. We're going to pull up activities. And then we're going to say, show me all leads, whether they have activities or not related to them. And then we'll click save. So this is our object relationship. This is our report schema. And then down here, you can see these are the fields available for the reports. So one thing to be aware of, when you create a custom report type and you start creating fields, custom fields on either of these objects, they will not always automatically be added to the report type. So you're going to want to make sure that when you create a new field, that you come back to this report type and you add it to the report types, so that those new custom fields are then available on this report. Otherwise, you could create a brand new checkbox on a lead and need that for your reporting, and then not add it to the report type and it not be there. So you could then add it after the fact, of course, if you're an admin, but just make sure that you're aware of that. Okay, so what's important here is we're going to go into edit layout, and this will tell us what information we'll be able to access. So edit layout from here, these are all of the fields that are available from the leads object. So here's our leads object. These are all of the leads fields. You can see that converted opportunity is there. Converted date, converted contact, converted account. So this does give us some insight into the opportunities. We would be able to see the name of the converted opportunity, and you would be able to see of all of the leads that you have, which ones were converted. And then if we scroll down, we've got activity information now. So this could be a pretty good solution to our use case, which would be show me all of the leads that we have, show me the activities associated with those leads, and then also show me the opportunity information that I have for anything that we've converted. So what I would do at this point is just confirm that everything I want is here, which without diving into the data a little more, I wouldn't know that, but I can save this, and then I would go to my reports tab back here. Let's just go to our sales app. Actually, before I do that, let's make this available just so that we don't run into any hiccups. So let's go back. Remember, this is in development, so just for the sake of this demo, let's go back and mark it deployed. Click save. Okay, now we'll go back to our reports tab and search for our report type. So we stored it in other reports, so we could absolutely go look for it there just by clicking, or we could type the name. But then here's our report type that we created: activities with leads and opportunities. We'll want to change that name once this actually gets published, but it would then, we could call it leads with activities, and converted opportunities would be more accurate. So show me all of my leads, all time, open our filters back up. Here's our lead information. These are the names of our leads, and then now we can start pulling in the fields. So let's look at lead converted. So do we have any that are converted in our sample data? No, we don't. So as you start to build out your data and your check marks come in and you've converted leads into opportunities and accounts and contacts, some of these are going to be checked, and then that can become a filter. And then you can look at the name of the converted opportunity, the contact name, the account that was created. Let's just pull this back up to the top. Take this out of there. And then we'll go down and we can look at collapse leads. We can look at activities. And we can say, okay, now show me some calls that we've had. So let's look for our date. We can do created date. Add that in there. And then remember, we don't have any data in here. Create a date, and then our status if we wanted to add that, or the subject of it, so we know what the activity was for. So then you're starting to pull in all of these different groups of information. You've got leads, you've got activities. It's all just mashed into one table. So now it's a matter of organizing your data in the table, grouping things in such a way that it is helpful to you. So we can add a group on, say, the full name of the lead here. And then if there are multiple activities underneath each lead, you would then see Andy Young has however many calls underneath that. Or you could group on the subject and see, or group on the date rather, how many leads did we reach out to on this date, or how many tasks did we reach out to on this date. So at this point, it's just a matter of playing with the format of the report and making sure that you're seeing the data that you want to see. If you're still missing some information, feel free to leave me some notes in the comments, or send me a message directly if you know how to reach me on Fiverr. I hope this has been helpful, and we'll talk to you soon.